Hello everyone, welcome back for some more Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. We are here on the first day of the third trial, dealing with science, wax figures, teleportation, crossbows, and a masked man, who I think I know who that is. Several things I think I know. Anyways, let's go. I can't believe it's been 6 months since I was last allowed to work in court. And now here I am, back at the Old Bailey. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo. Good morning, Professor Hairbrain. Your accent is as inconsistent as ever. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. The atmospheric pressure in here is off the charts. I've never felt anything like it. It's crushing me. I feel it every time I'm here. Gravity. Well, this is Britain's highest court. But are you telling me it's fitted with some kind of device that can actually control air pressure? I think it's probably all in the mind, dude. Ah, yes. Well, you won't let me down, will you, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm counting on you in today's trial. To save my life. To save the secret of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine from being made public. Yes, I understand. I know what I have to do. I have to establish that the explosion 2 days ago was nothing more than an unfortunate accident. Well, I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, really. Justice will prevail. Who? My commiserations, Mr. Naruhodo. You appear to be lumbering with the most tiresome case here. Who's... Oh, hey! You're here, Mr. Sholmes! Didn't expect to see you here. This is usually on your completely destroyed on hash hour. That was very mean, Runo, leaving me alone at home with Hurley. It took me at least an hour to wake him. Is that... Are you... Please don't be weird towards little girls. We don't like that here. Herlock Sholmes! No, okay, that's fine. Indeed, sir. I am he. Herlock Sholmes. I've heard all about your exploits, even whilst living in Germany. Ah, yes. Rats magazine is on sale in Germany, too. This month's installment was sublime. Your deduction in The Adventure of Silver Blaze was wonderful. My favorite part was when they kissed with the Iblis trigger. Ah, yes, a memorable case indeed. It concerned a snake, I seem to recall. No, that was the Speckled Band. Well, thank you for coming. I do appreciate your support. I'm sorry to disappoint you, my dear fellow, but I'm afraid I can't stay. Oh. I have urgent business at Madame Tuspel's. You mean your waxwork job? No, the waxwork abduction, of course. Madame has engaged my services. Ah, trying to get to the bottom of that ransom note, are you? The week's wages depend on it, as does the safe return of the waxwork, naturally. As such, I intend to give it my undivided attention. Oh, well, never mind then. I understand. Of course, with my skills of observation and reasoning, solving the matter will be as easy as proverbial pie. I don't think I've tried that flavor before. I shall return forthwith. But until I solve the case, I shall have no money to afford a pie of any description. Oh, you must absolutely give it your full attention, Hurley. Quite, Iris, quite. But life is riddled with irony, you know. Whenever I give something my full attention, I have a quite insatiable desire for a pie. One of the universe's intractable mysteries, you might say. Oh yes, quite, definitely, absolutely, I totally understand. I'm a little starstruck. I wish you the very best of luck, Professor Hairbrain. Why, thank you. Before I depart, Mr. Naruhodo, a word in your ear, please. What's this about? Penis. I mean, as you have remarkably little grounding in science, I feel I ought to inform you. As compelling as a super high voltage instantaneous kinesis hypothesis may be, a practical implementation, such as was attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition, is quite impossible. But the professor said the demonstration was a success! Yes, it would appear that he fervently believes it was. I've read Professor Bunnybrain's paper. That's not his name, but okay. I've read Professor Bunnybrain's paper about it too, Runo, and I have to say, I'm sure it can't be done. It could barely be done theoretically, let alone practically. So he's completely barking up the wrong tree? But how could an experiment that had no possibility of succeeding, in fact, succeed? That's quite contradictory. And it's that contradiction that will be at the heart of that trial, I've no doubt. What's that supposed to mean? Now, I must hurry along. I wish you the best of luck, my dear fellow. See you later, Hurley. I'm gonna start doing that motion in public to people. That little bow. Because it's so ostentatious. I want to do it. Well, looks like you're on your own today, Runo. But chin up, you can do it. Oh, what about you, Iris? No, I'm afraid I can't help. I have something I need to do. I see. It's going to be a big surprise for you when you find out what it is. Mecha Iris will join us in court. That sounds ominous. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court is about to be in session. Make your way into the courtroom at once. Run away. The key to voicing, like, either Phoenix Wright or Ryunosuke or any of these characters, you gotta be able to, like, have your voice break on command. Because these guys try their best, but it doesn't work all the time, you know? An experiment that the laws of science says can't possibly succeed, and a scientist who's convinced that it did. That's the riddle you have to unlock here, Ryunosuke. That's the key to this case! On 3rd of October, 9:10 a.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. I was going to say 1 or 2, but no, it's the only one. Okay, who do we... Oh, we have a variety of new people. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are sitting today for the public trial of Professor Albert Harebrain. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. The defense is ready, my lord. I'm 6 months out of practice. What's more? Aww. I'm without Sasato-san today. No more tutorials. This is the first case where you truly have nobody with you as a partner. I think this might legitimately be. I can't think of one where you have nobody. Is my imagination, or does the air in here feel even more oppressive than usual? So, I must say I recollect the victim of this case all too well, Mr. Odie Assman. Mr. Assman was well known as a financier, and that was merely a front for his diverse criminal activities. It was only a month ago that the man appeared in court, prosecuted by you, Lord Van Zeeks, but the jury unanimously found him not guilty. As every member of the jury had been bribed by the sound of it, these powerful London criminals are prepared to go to extreme lengths to keep their freedom. But 2 days ago, on the 21st of October, Mr. Assman met his ass end. The work of the Reaper, was it? If that is how your lordship would describe divine retribution, the fact remains that Mr. Assman's death was a direct result of the actions of the accused, Professor Harebrain. Very well, then. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected at random to represent the will of the people. Are the 6 of you ready to fulfill your societal duty? I'm most gratified to have been selected to carry out this important civic duty, my lord. I don't know what voice to give you. We'll see. To have a man's fate in the palm of one's hand, Oh gosh, oh golly, it sends shivers down my spine. Ma'am, your Bobertson's really pushed up there. Well, good.
Well, social experiments, magic, conjuring tricks, courtroom trials. All are nothing more than performances.
Any sparrow scholar that defies the reputation of science deserves to hang.
That is a child. This is a child. Can a child be on jury duty? I don't think so. We have to listen to what's on both sides of the fence and settle on one, that's it, isn't it? We always have one sleeper. But here's the sleeper.
No, it wasn't like this in my day. Wasn't like this at all.
What a group. That's the police. Oh, right. The police killer otter mole look-alike. Again. He's as exhausted as ever, it seems.
Now, as I'm sure you're all aware, the incident we are here to address today tragically took place at the Great Exhibition shortly after its opening.
Though the death toll could have been far worse, with the exception of the victim, no one was killed. Nevertheless, the dream of the science being exhibited rapidly turned into a nightmare for the spectators.
The tragic turn of events, and as such, the eyes of all London, no, of the whole world will be on this trial. It's our duty to reach a swift and just conclusion, I feel. So, your opening statement, please, Lord Fancies.
At the heart of this incident is technology never before demonstrated anywhere in the world.
One of science's latest developments, I take it. The government is keen to capitalize on the Great Exhibition to improve Britain's technological advantage.
The technology being demonstrated by the accused was described as super high voltage, instantaneous kinesis.
Good Lord!
It's designed to disassemble human subjects using extreme high voltage electricity. Can I just say, I had a lot of comments that are like, it's fine. If I were to go teleport into something, and it resulted in me being killed and respawned as a new version of me somewhere, that's fine. I feel like you guys don't understand. You wouldn't know if you died. Like you would know, but the rest of the world would be like, so did you die? And they'd be like, no, I just teleported normally, because the new one of you. Look, there's a game called Soma, S-O-M-A, all right? It's a horror game. Go play that, because that directly deals with why this is terrifying. I do not want the chance that me go away and something else become me. That's scary. I don't like it. Nope. Anyways, and beam them instantaneously to another location where they're subsequently reassembled.
Was such a thing even within the realms of possibility?
Well, I don't believe it, that's for sure.
Just assembling people with electricity. My goodness, how shocking.
The whole idea is absurd. Hypothesis would never stand up to scrutiny.
Sir, I believe you are a fellow of the Royal Society, are you not? An expert in your field?
I am, and my word on the matter can be considered final. Instantaneous kinesis is poppycock.
So this expert and Mr. Sholmes are in agreement. It's impossible.
What is the prosecution's view of the matter?
The prosecution would assert that the accused's instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a success. What?
What rot! Order, order!
The professor's hypothesis is currently under investigation by the British government. If it is deemed to have merit, a substantial research grant would be made available. The accused made use of the invention built on his new hypothesis to take Mr. Assman's life in order to be the sole benefactor of the grant. But... This disastrous demonstration was no accident. It was carefully designed from the outset to end the life of the victim.
Thank you, Lord Van Zeeks. Prosecution's stance is clear, but you will now bring forth witnesses to substantiate your claims.
Gladly, my lord. God, you're doing this quicker and quicker per trial. Bailiff, show the first witnesses to the stand. Witnesses? Are we getting the detective duo? No. Oh, all right. Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. I was on duty at the demonstration on the day in question and in charge of the following investigation. Albert Harebrain, scientist. You were born in England, but have a very clear German accent because you've been carrying out your research in Germany in recent years, correct? Yes, that's right. After graduating from university in Britain, I went to work in Germany and made an amazing discovery, which is what brought me back. I had to demonstrate my incredible hypothesis at the Great Exhibition. What you demonstrated was incredible, all right? Incredible explosion. But the science was a success. The instantaneous kinesis worked. Everyone saw it. They must have done. Yes, there was a terrible accident, but the demonstration of my hypothesis was correct. Well, that much is undeniable, as shown in the photograph taken by the forensic investigation team. Hey, can we see that? Okay.
This was taken inside the Crystal Tower, I take it. The centerpiece of the exhibition, no less.
He's got a little psst right in his heart. That's a problem. Glasses are there, yeah. Moles there, yeah. Okay, I'm just checking. I'm just making sure. Okay. Where's his hat? That's right, my lord. Seems the victim rammed straight into it.
I see. Very well. Submit the photograph as evidence.
Okay. Beamed shows a stab wound to the chest. As the court's heard, the victim of the incident was Mr. Odie Assman. There have been a number of allegations made against the man, but putting them aside for the time being, he was the man who financed the research for the experiment and the demonstration itself.
I see. So to summarize the situation, the defendant is the accused of taking the life of the man who funded his work. Would that be correct?
Exactly. But couldn't it be the explosion was caused by some malfunction in the apparatus used for the demonstration? That's right, it must be. My splendid machine. My poor splendid machine. You saw it yesterday, didn't you? We can't even examine the wreckage thanks to the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. What? The wreckage? The wreckage?
But that being the case, how could the facts be
That makes it sound like he didn't think that it's a wreck. Did that happen after? Did someone break it afterwards? Oh.
But that being the case, how could the facts be established? How could it possibly be determined whether this was an accident or a deliberate and malicious act?
Extremely simply, my lord.
I beg your pardon?
Isn't that right, witness? What? Oh, sorry, me? No, your neighbor. Yes, sir. It was murder, plain and simple. Anyone could state that with complete certainty. What? How could he possibly think that?
Thank you, Inspector. I think we'd better proceed to formal testimony. You will explain to the court on what grounds you claim this experiment to have been a front for murder.
Let's see here. Boy, you really tried to squish Harebrain in there. Looks like Albert Hain on his thing. The corpse that went crashing through the Crystal Tower had a broken neck. I made a minor miscalculation in the angle of the beam projections. That's all my mistake. That was my mistake. Now, the post-mortem examination revealed another injury, fatal wound. There was a lesion in his chest where he'd been clearly stabbed by something sharp right in the heart. The victim was killed before he went anywhere, and this fella's the only one who could have done it.
Oh, what extraordinary business. In addition to suffering a broken neck, the victim was stabbed in the heart.
Information I would really like to have heard from someone other than the judge. The coroners say death would have been all but instant from a wound like that. You could say, in fact, that the victim was killed twice by the accused. No. No, you can't say that. It doesn't work that way, bucko. No. That couldn't be further from the truth. I have here the experiment plan document that was submitted to the security team. He's in there. The victim stood himself inside something called the birdcage, ready to be beamed instantly. Up there, okay. To the second level of the crystal tower, about 25 yards away. The experiment did not go according to plan, however. As the machine was put into operation, there was a large explosion. The blast caused the beam transmitter to point higher than intended. Accordingly, the kinesis resulted in the birdcage materializing in midair, from where it subsequently fell, crashing through the glass of the crystal tower's large round window.
My word! One assumes the victim's neck was broken upon the impact with the tower, then.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. The machine was just too powerful. But honestly, really, I swear, it was just an accident, a terrible accident. Unfortunately, that excuse can't save you. No, not considering the sharp murder weapon that pierced the victim's heart. Murder weapon? What are you saying? This is the autopsy report submitted by the coroner. The prosecution would like it entered into the court record.
Your request is granted, counsel.
All right, let's see this here. As soon as I can. Buddy, you're not looking too good.
I was there in person, I saw the whole ludicrous performance.
Let's just see. So we got, just the stab wound there. Oh yeah, spin 47 British. 12:20 p.m. Hemorrhage of a wound to the chest that pierced the heart inflicted by a sharp implement. Broken vertebrae from the impact of a sudden fall. Yep, there's nothing there that contradicts anything we've seen.
And the only person on the stage with Mr. Aspen was a disgraceful excuse for a scientist.
Really? By all accounts, it must have been him.
Hard to think otherwise, really.
Very well, counsel for the defense. Proceed with the cross-examination, please.
Oh, yes, my lord. I need to focus here. It's been a while. We're so used to waiting for one of our partners to say, like, all right, Nick, now you gotta do this. And we go, who the heck is Nick? Rob's went crashing through the crystal tower at a broken neck, did he? Are you suggesting that's because he fell from a considerable height? Maybe it's a pre-existing condition. Exactly. Which highlights something else about this whole rum business. What's that? The fact that the instantaneous kinesis itself was a success. Oh! After the explosion, the cage with the fella inside suddenly appeared out of nowhere midair.
So although the experiment ended in disaster, the so-called instantaneous kinesis did actually occur.
Remind us, Professor, what was the cause of the fatal disaster? I made a minor miscalculation in the angle of the beam projections, that's all. That was my mistake. So the angle of projection is critical, is it? And you calculated it yourself? Personally? Absolutely. The calculation is far too complicated for anyone but me to carry out. Only you got it wrong, didn't you? Yes, that's right. That's the point. The calculation is so complicated even I could make one mistake. People fall for the brazen confidence? I should try it. I took into account the subject's height and weight, the wind direction, the ambient temperature. I considered every possible variable. I just don't understand how this could have happened. Obviously, then, you would include the weight of the clothes Mr. Aspen was wearing at the time, I suppose? Ah. Heckling comets! The answer should have been 3! So much for safety first. The 3 must be for the safety third. Oh, for safety third, not safety first. Okay, I get it there. But the post-mortems revealed another injury, a fatal wound. Yep. Another fatal injury, you say? That doesn't make any sense. I didn't think I'd have to spell this out, but here we go. Just because there were 2 fatal wounds doesn't mean I'm saying the victim had 2 lives to lose, does it? 2, right? Obviously, at first, we thought the bloke had died due to his spine snapping in half as well. But you're saying that's not the case? You'll get your answer once I'm finished my fish and chips, if you don't keep butting in every few seconds. We all know that's a bottomless bag. A man's a walking, Olive Garden of fish and chips. The victim plummeted 30 feet into a glass tower. It would be reasonable to assume this as the cause of death. Right. That's what we all thought. But it was a red herring, wasn't it? No, I thought you usually have cod, right? Okay, come on, that's pretty good, right? It's a fish and chips thing, come on, right? Whatever. There's a lesion in his chest where he'd clearly been stabbed by something sharp right through the heart. Tell me more about this. The defense knew nothing of this crucial information. The prosecution received this report from the forensic investigation team only this morning. That was the first we knew of it as well. I can only apologize for the impossibility of informing the defense. Sarcastic and insincere? Thanks. So, what was the nature of this sharp object? Among the accused tools that were in use at the demonstration, one is of particular interest. This. Oh, that is damning. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, yes. There would be some kind of a screwdriver, wouldn't it, cousin?
There he is! My trusty little companion, Andrew! Andrew. Of course. Do you know we know each other already? He's one of my dear friends. I'm now French, oh no, German. Like all my tools. I've named them all, you know. The one big happy family. Andrew's my flathead screwdriver, of course. His brother, Michael, is a crosshead. It's becoming French, oh no.
Well, it would appear that your beloved Andrew has a red stain on his shank.
That isn't... It's blood, beyond all reasonable doubt. No. And that's not all. The long, sharp shape of this Andrew fellow is completely consistent with the victim's wound. What?
Border! The court will enter this friend of the defendant as evidence.
Andrew? Trace of the blood. Oh. So one of the Professor Hairbrain's tools is the murder weapon? We gotta take a look at this Andrew fella. This is blood. Mr. Aspen's, no doubt. But this is the problem with looking at murder weapons. Can you look at the A? I've seen this unusually shaped handle before. Same screwdriver that was lodged in the grill on the floor of the kinesis machine. Which could be important information, so I should definitely make note of it. Right? Poking through the grill. So how could it have been stabbed into him if it was poking in the grill, right? Great. That's what I think we probably have to put somewhere. Bacon was killed before he went anywhere, and this fella's the only one who could have done it. What grounds do you have for saying that? Huh? You really need to ask. There were only 2 people on that public experimentation stage in front of the whole crowd. The victim, Mr. Aspen. The accused, Professor Hairbrain. And when I know for certain that before the experiment, the victim was alive.
That's right, I saw him with my own eye.
Furthermore, following the explosion in kinesis, nobody went anywhere near the body. In other words, only someone else on the stage with the victim could have possibly done it. Great Scott! What's up, buddy?
Excuse me.
Professor Harebrain. You have some information that may be relevant here? Professor? Sorry. I was calculating the optimum coefficient of electrolysis of separated molecules in the human body. The witness stand is the best place for that. Seems as though you might have something to say about Inspector Gregson's last remark. Yes, that's right. Of course. It just said that nobody else could have done it, didn't he? Yeah, that's right. Who else could have stabbed the victim, eh? I don't know! But there's no way I could have possibly stabbed Mr. Asman, as you say. Explain, please, Professor. Of course. This cold-hearted policeman may not be aware, but humans are warm-blooded mammals, with blood running continuously through their veins. I had heard. Then surely you see, if I'd plunged something the size of Andrew into the man's chest, the whole stage would have been a bloodbath. No, a blood swimming pool. Huh. But thousands of Londoners were watching me at the time. And yet not one of them claims to have seen a swimming pool of blood. Well, no, I suppose not. You see, not one.
True. I didn't see anything like that.
Well done, Professor. That was a great counter-argument. Finally, an educated person up on the stand.
Order.
Pray forgive the discourtesy if I savor a drop from my hallowed chalice to accompany my old friend's adducing. Never heard that term before. All right. Here's to you, Albert. Oh, you're too kind, Barhock. But I'm really not patch on you. Why would you do that? It's so expensive. No, you're not. No? You've neglected to mention one crucial possibility. I have a particular situation in which very little bleeding would result from a stab wound. Of course. Inspector, enlighten the court, please. Yes, sir. Where are they going with this? We're gonna go with the altitude or something? Or it's stuck in a way where it would stay in him, but we know that that's not the case.
Very well, you'll amend your formal testimony now, Inspector Gregson.
What's it gonna say? The weapon the victim was stabbed with must have been left. Oh, okay, we have the evidence for why this isn't the case.
Hold it!
We know exactly why. Why would you think that, Inspector? Kind of weird. With any wound, it's only when you pull the weapon out that profuse bleeding occurs. This is true. Hey, listen. I do not wish this on anyone who watches my videos. But if you get stabbed, I don't want you to. I'm not saying this is like a, when you get stabbed. No. Derek. But if you do, Derek, you will need to leave it in, okay? You need to not take it out, okay? Talking to you, you know who you are. Be careful, okay? But leave it in, go to the hospital, they'll take it out, okay? This goes for anything stabbed into you, okay? Leave it in. While it's still lodged in the body, it acts as a stopper of sorts, for want of a better word. I see. This is true. You don't need a medical degree to be aware of this fact. It's common knowledge for any investigator. Well, where's Hisato-san when you need her? Ask me, this bloke masked what he was doing with from view with his body before stabbing Aspen in the chest. And he beamed the victim off the stage with his fancy device, the screwdriver still where he planted it. I would never do such a thing, not to my precious tools. I would never use them for such dirty work. You only use tools for the intended purpose. That's common knowledge for any scientist. Fact remains, the lack of blood at the scene can easily be explained, as the prosecution has demonstrated. No? That's all the testimony I have to work with. Well, we know what to do. I had no idea the victim had been stabbed. Changes everything. Ben Zeeks keep that to himself until now on purpose to gain the advantage? No, I think he was serious about, I just got that information. Right? Nope, we know what to do. Last one. Present our boy Andrew.
Objection.
Here we go. You say that while the weapon remains in the body, there's very little bleeding. Is that unequivocal? What a good word. What a good word, buddy. Look, there was no blood on the experimentation stage, even though that's where the fellow was stabbed. The only explanation for that is if the screwdriver is still in his body, stopping any heavy bleeding. It's common medical knowledge, my learned friend, even on your side of the world. Yes, but about this screwdriver. Thing is, we actually saw it at the scene ourselves, on the experimentation stage. What? It was on the floor by the wreckage of the machine, poking through a metal grillie. I went to pick it up, but the detective here stopped me. Isn't that right, Inspector Gregson? Oh, well, now you come to mention it, yes. Inspector, are we to understand that you permitted the defense counsel to investigate? That you contravened the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act? No, not at all. I wouldn't do that. Just let him look, nothing more. I was very clear wasn't in touch a thing. Yes, that's true. The screwdriver was in plain sight on the stage. But it shouldn't have been, should it? Well, what are you getting at? This tool had still been in the victim's body when the victim was beamed away by the machine. And it shouldn't have been still on the stage. That's right. It should have been beamed across to the Crystal Tower, along with Mr. Asman, and been found still lodged in the victim's chest. What? Sometimes I don't give full effort to the grunts. You know, sometimes I don't.
Order. How to explain this, Inspector?
I don't. It looks as though everything that the victim had on his person moved with him when he was beamed. The screwdriver was still in his chest when the instantaneous kinesis occurred. Obviously, that should have been beamed to the destination as well. This is a strange situation. Even though people are saying that this instantaneous kinesis is a scientific impossibility, we're still basing arguments on the assumption that it did actually take place. Alright, time to tighten the screws here. My lord, if the prosecution is unable to explain this inconsistency in its argument, we can only conclude that the testament given in support cannot be relied upon. Lord Van Zeeks is stumped. You? Really?
Do you have something to say, witness?
Yes, I knew it. It bears out. The equations hold. Mr. Naruhodo, don't worry. About what? Oh, without delving into the details, there's no inconsistency. What? Even if Andrew had been lodged in Mr. Asman's chest, my trusty tool wouldn't have moved. Andrew remaining on stage is consistent with my calculations. What? Buddy, we're trying to protect you. Same. Would seem your illusions have been shattered clearly we should hear the accused's explanation. Or should I say, this brilliant scientist's explanation? This is what I found an inconsistency in the prosecution's argument. Scientists.
Very well, the defendant will testify again. Provide us with the scientific explanation to why the inconsistency asserted by the defense fails to hold.
In the name of Apollo, he's not in this franchise yet. Give it 100 years or so. I will, my lord. Why Apollo? Is that a science thing? Is Apollo the god of science or something? I don't know. All my Greek god knowledge is gone, except for the fate stuff. Inconsistency explained. To be clear, I'm still at this stage of gathering data in my research. My hypothesis states that the kinesis cannot transport metal, though. Hence, the metal weapon would have stayed put. He's wearing glasses! In other words, the point just raised by Mr. Naruhodo isn't an inconsistency at all. Mr. Aspen was the patron of my research. Without him, my work would have been impossible. What if he just had a pacemaker? What if this actually did go off and he had a pacemaker? That's glasses. My man had glasses. He's very clearly wearing metal. Right there. Never mind. You are wrong. Now I have a duty to protect the incredible machines that we built together. He's literally wearing glasses, and you can't tell me they're not metal. They're literally a little dangly chain. Yeah, firework in the background, I agree.
So, the thrust of your testimony, Professor, is
that based upon his hypothesis, metal objects cannot be used by this method. Instantaneous kinesis.
In other words?
In other words, since a screwdriver is made of metal, even if it remained lodged in the victim's chest, subsequent discovery on the stage, despite the victim being found elsewhere, is not an inconsistency.
And therefore,
Professor Albert Harebrained could still have been the killer. My great hypothesis holds, you see. We had to make the cage used to contain the subject from wood for that very reason.
I was not addressing you, witness.
Professor Harebrained? Yes? Whose side are you on here? I don't take sides, Mr. Naruhodo. No. My only interest lies in upholding my hypothesis. I'm a scientist, after all. Okay, is he working for us or against us? It's very hard to tell. Let's see how you cross-examine this testimony, my Nipponese friend. Boy, if you hear someone hitting a hammer on a wall, that's just the judge with his gavel, and definitely not my neighbors who randomly do that all the time. Yes, fire away, Mr. Naruhodo. Sometimes I worry it's them doing this because I'm recording, right? And like screaming and stuff, playing my video games. But I'm quieter than most of my other neighbors, and they do it regardless whether I'm talking or not. Inconsistency explained. To be clear, I'm still at this stage of gathering data in my research. Okay. And yet your retort to my argument wasn't lacking in confidence in any way. No scientist can find the truth without first finding self-belief. Those were the words of a certain scientist I hold in very highest esteem. You realize that disproving my argument puts you in a very precarious position, don't you? No scientist should strive to protect himself more than he strives to protect the truth. More words of the great scientist, you know. Words that are causing me a lot of trouble. Who is a scientist? Professor, I'm in jail. I'm afraid I couldn't tell you, Mr. Naruhodo. But as soon as I remember the magnificent genius's name, you'll be the first to know. Might be worth keeping the names of your idols to mind. You're wasting your breath, my learned friend. The scatterbrain even forgets my name at times. But Lord Van Zeeks really did have a friend once, but I didn't notice hell freezing over. Dang! My hypothesis states that kinesis cannot transport metal, though, hence the metal weapon would have stayed put. Your hypothesis states it, so it isn't proven then? No, of course not. It's merely a hypothesis, but a good one, based upon thousands of calculations. But it is widely known that metals can't be decomposed by electrolysis. Yes, of course, so I am right. My hypothesis is clearly correct. What is it about incriminating himself that makes this man so happy? It's the whole reason that the birdcage is made of wood, you see. Sorry, the birdcage? Da, that's what we call the obtusa cage in which the Mr. Aspen was placed for the kinesis. Literally metal that's even drawn in super high quality so you can see it there.
Oh yes, the jail cell in which the victim was detained. It does indeed to be a bit of a timber of some sort.
I think you're not to refer to it as an instrument of incarceration, your lordship. In short, any weapon lodged in the victim when he was beamed away by instantaneous kinesis would have been left behind on the stage as if it was made of metal, correct? Yes, that's it. Yes. It all fits perfectly with the mathematical model.
The ultimate conclusion, then, is that the defendant alone had the opportunity to inflict this fatal injury on the victim, is it not? Indeed, sir.
Someone beam me out of this nightmare. In other words, the point just raised by Mr. Naruhodo isn't an inconsistency at all. You seem to be pleased by that. Yes, another example of my hypothesis proving true. But I sense some sarcasm, Mr. Naruhodo. Are you not pleased? No! I knew it. The scientists are not good at reading the social cues, you know. At the end of the day, I'm the one responsible for Mr. Aspen losing his life. The advancement of science is no excuse, I know that. No, you're quite right.
Look what, did you have a close relationship with Mr. Aspen?
Well, no, not really. I mean, I'd only met him 2 or 3 times, and we only ever discussed my hypothesis in the project, and the research grant, of course. Mr. Aspen was the patron of my research. Without him, my work wouldn't be possible. How did you come to know Mr. Aspen in the first place? A year ago now, a small provincial science... You're not joking about the small part of the provincial science journal. That's really funny. That is indeed a small provincial science journal. You're right. A small provincial science journal published a paper about my work.
That's a scientific journal? Good gracious, I should need new spectacles.
I might have had an extraordinary hypothesis and great promise, but at the time I had no money. I had to eat tiny little meals at a tiny little cafe and drink watered-down coffee out of a tiny little glass. I was like those big buff men in that tiny little village. You know the one that you've seen online. The buff bodybuilder men. The buff bodybuilder men in the tiny village for tiny people, but they're big buff bodybuilder men, so they walk around like kaiju. Do you know this thing I'm talking about, Mr. Naruhodo? If you don't, you should really Google it, because it's one of the funniest things you'll ever see. These big bodybuilder men walking around a little village built for, like, little tiny people, so they look like really huge big guys, but, like, not so big they look like monsters, but so big they just look like big muscle beasts. It's kind of crazy, yeah. No, but for real, there's a video that is no longer on YouTube, unfortunately, because the group that was a part of kind of disbanded there. But I brought it up in that video, and we had a laughing fit of this village in some European country where it's like they make a bunch of houses, like, let's say, like 60% smaller than they should be. And then you get these big bodybuilder guys, and they're walking around this town, and they look massive because everything is slightly smaller. And they go there, and they just are huge men in a tiny town. I feel like I'm crazy talking about this, but it exists. But Mr. Atzman read the paper and came to visit me at my tiny little laboratory. And offered you money to help fund your work? Exactly, that's exactly what happened. I handled the theoretical side of things, and Mr. Asman provided me with an engineer for the practical. Hey, who's that? And to see of us produce that fantastic machine together. A machine that you brought to the Great Exhibition to demonstrate. We had to apply to the government for some sort of inspection to be allowed to exhibit, I think. I didn't understand all that side of things. Mr. Osman took care of it all. He was a wonderful man. Really, I owe him everything. Now I have a duty to protect the incredible machines that we built together. The three of you. Where there's one other person. Yeah. When you say you built that machine together, does that mean you were involved in its construction? Yes. Well, not exactly. I'm not good with the practical side of machines myself, so the physical construction was done by an engineer. Little remains of your creation now, though, following the explosion. Repair will no doubt be impossible. Yes, I realize that, but still, if someone were to gather all the broken parts, I could discover the secret of my hypothesis. But Mr. Osman and I toiled over that machine for so long, we put our heart and souls into it. I have to protect my work. So what's left of the machine must be kept safe. That's only fair, because what happened was an accident. That's the extent of the testimony, then. Thank goodness for that. I don't want him doing any more damage. He's already basically proven that he could have been the culprit. But it seems as though all he really cares about is defending his hypothesis. Still, I wonder, what if his hypothesis is fundamentally flawed? Yeah, we know the exact answer to this. Right here. Present. Buddy, you're wrong. You're so wrong. Professor Harebrain, you say that according to your hypothesis, nothing made of metal can be beamed by instantaneous kinesis, using the machine you made. Is that correct? Yes, that's right. Spot on. Exactly correct. In that case, I'd ask you to have a look at this photograph that was taken at the scene. In particular, I'd like you to pay attention to the victim's face. You can clearly see that Mr. Aspen is wearing a pair of spectacles with a metal rim. What? Metal? No, metal can't. That's not metal. No! We've already established that the proposed murder weapon, the screwdriver, was found on the stage. However, if your hypothesis correctly predicted that outcome, it should also have predicted that the metal rimmed spectacles would be found in the same place. My hypothesis! Professor Harebrain, this isn't easy for me to say, but your hypothesis is clearly flawed. Ooh-ah!
Order. Counsel, what is the implication of this?
If, on the day in question, the alleged instantaneous kinesis never actually took place, it is entirely possible the victim was killed somewhere other than the stage. And in that case, someone other than the defendant could have been the culprit. But my hypothesis is sound. I proved it that day. The experiment was a success. The experiment was proof of all of my work.
If I could say something here in my capacity as a fellow of this Royal Society. Yes, you're number 4. Go ahead. As a man of science, there's one thing I simply cannot abide. And that's a fraud who pretends to be a fellow man of science.
What? Wait! Great Scott! Are you suggesting my science is sussy, as the kids say?
It's been disproved, hasn't it? In front of all of us. In other words, the whole demonstration was complete nonsense from start to finish. Believe me, my fellow jurors, when I tell you that this man is a heel, a bounder, and a fraud.
I say the wreckage of that machine should be stripped and thoroughly examined. I'm giving him a slightly different voice. No, never! That machine is the essence of my entire hypothesis. It's protected by the special...
Where the devil is the blast all about, eh? Who made up such a daft rule?
I don't like the way it seems to be going. What's the best way for me to help the professor? Freaking, I don't know. There's no one in my ear saying, Inosuke, believe in yourself. I'm gonna wait and see. Maybe I should watch and wait for the time being. I never choose that option.
My feeling is the machine requires
Yeah, because we want to examine the machine.
machine requires a thorough examination.
And what about this special dispensation that's been mentioned? Oh gosh, this is all too much.
If it's determined the machine itself was the murder weapon, I think you'll find that act won't apply. Of course, if it was a murder weapon, anyone can see that plain as day. We all have the same voice, it fucking sucks. We're all in agreement, are we, that the machine should be stripped? I'll give him slightly less gruff.
What? If I don't do something, they'll...
Objection!
Oh, you said that on the DL. Professor Herbert is here to prevent this invention. That would seem to be the case, yes. But even so, what? Going to such trouble and expense to create a fake machine to display in public. He would absolutely have no reason to do such a thing. He had an obvious reason to do exactly that. For the research grant money.
If the government was foolish enough to have deemed the man's ridiculous notion plausible, he and his conspirators would have received a handsome sum indeed.
Conspirators? What would be the value of such a grant? 10 pounds?
You're an order of magnitude out, madam. 500 pounds a year.
Or we could live him on that much for years.
Society's noticed an increase in bogus public demonstrations in the field of science recently, and plenty of scientists arguing with each other to get the largest slice of the fun and cake. People's greed is plenty motive enough for murder, I assure you.
No. I haven't deceived anyone, least of all the government. My hypothesis is sound, this science is sound. Please, you must believe me. No matter how unbelievable this hypothesis may seem to you, ladies and gentlemen, the fact remains that the victim was transported instantly to the Crystal Tower. Which means that the experiment was a success. Baroque. And therefore, the only person who could possibly have committed this murder is the accused. Baroque. Where is this heading? I have no idea. My lord, if I may.
Yes, Lord Van Zeeks.
The prosecution would like to summon new witnesses to the stand.
New witnesses? What will be the nature of their involvement?
They were spectators of the demonstration at the exhibition, who were occupying special seats. Eyewitnesses?
Very well. Court grants the prosecution's request. I should very much like to hear from eyewitnesses to the incident.
Prosecution's stance is clear. The experiment was no pastiche? Pastiche? What's that word? I'm typing this in. Pastiche. Is that how you say that? Give me this. Okay, so this is, it's a wig?
Pastiche.
Pastiche. It means a wig? What? Does also have other meanings? No, it means a wig? Freaking okay, I've never heard that term before. Accused killed the financier victim there on the public stage, before the very eyes of the spectators. Now, my learned friend. Oh, yes. It's time for you to make your own stance clear. There's clearly a flaw in the professor's hypothesis. I can definitely see that. But where does that leave me?
We shall take a short recess now, during which time the prosecution will prepare its new witnesses to take the stand.
As you wish, my lord.
Good. In that case, court is adjourned for 20 minutes. And by 20 minutes, I mean like 3 to 4 days till Tanner uploads the next part. You know how it goes. Anyways, goodbye everyone. We'll see you next time. Judgy out.
Yo.
Meow.